Why has Daniel been so much better when you weren't here, but like you've seen tape, like throwing on the move this year? That was not a strength of his first 3 years, and it seems like it has become one.
Yeah, I think just, drilling it as much as we can. We knew we were going to, incorporate some things with him on the move and all that. So going back to training camp, you work on those things, even before training camp, OTAs and all that. And I think the more you do it, obviously, the more you can improve on it. And he's done a good job with it, something he wanted to improve on. So kind of made it an emphasis really since we got here.
Because you see a guy that athletic, you must have looked at it and said, this can be a strength for him.
Yeah, no doubt. Anytime you got a guy that's, that size, but he moves like that, you definitely want to try and take those things and add them to your game as far as extended plays or even doing it as a design thing, rollouts, things like that. He's done a good job with them.
Why'd you guys look so different against the Vikings than you have pretty much at any point? Oh, yeah, the 42 pass attempts, 30 completions, 3 guys with 8 catches each. You really haven't looked like that at any other time this year. Why were you guys so effective?
Yeah, I think that's just the thing that it goes back to. We're always going to try and do whatever we can do to win the game, whether it's, throw it 50 times, run it 50 times, spread the ball around to different guys. Anytime you can get a bunch of guys involved in a game plan, that helps, makes it easier for us and harder for defenses. Then they can't, clue in on one guy. I mean, it's just a thing where it kind of naturally evolved throughout the game. Guys getting open and things like that. So, yeah, it was a good game for us, and hopefully, kind of continue something like that.
What advice do you give Daniel before first playoff game? Just do the same thing you've been doing?
Yeah, just be consistent. And that's really one of Daniel's biggest strengths is he's such a consistent guy. He comes in and he prepares the same way every week, and this week's been no different, which is what you want to see. You want him to be consistent, same routine, same process, and that's what we've done. What's up, Mark? How you doing?
Sorry if you've already been asked this. Tom, you doing something? When you're going against guys in the secondary, I mean, like Patrick Peterson, I mean, his resume.
Yeah.
But it seemed like you didn't back down from, going after him a little bit because you liked the plays you had. Mm-hmm. Is that one of those things when you guys are on the sideline, do you ever get to a point where, you look, it's almost like, I don't want to say tempt fate, but a guy like that is waiting to make a play.
No doubt.
How do you stay aggressive in that situation and not think it's coming
right
the way it happened last game?
Yeah, obviously, I remember my first or second year in the league, we played Patrick Peterson when he was with Arizona. And you talk about a guy, like you said, who got a Hall of Fame resume, really, really good corner. And you got to pick and choose your spots with a guy like that. Great player. And, it was kind of the flow of the game, kind of how the reads dictated based on what the defense done, more so than, just attacking him. It was kind of that deal. But you're right, you got to be smart about what you do in those situations and with those particular players who, obviously, he's a really good one.
You've been around quarterbacks in this league who get this first opportunity in the playoffs, and I know, Dave's is obviously trying to set the tone that this is just another game. Do you have a sense for what this means for Daniel going into this game?
That's the best thing about him is, like I just said, he's so consistent. Nothing ever changes with Daniel, which is what I love about him. He's not approaching this thing anything different. It's another game. Obviously we all understand that it is a playoff game for sure, but that's what's really impressive about him and his work ethic, and really speaks to his consistency. It hasn't really been brought up. It's, hey, let's go out and try and go 1-0.
What did last Sunday's game mean to your room?
Yeah, it meant a lot. I thought it was really fun to go out there and watch Davis get an opportunity to go out there and play a really good team. And it was a fun environment. I know how loud that stadium can get and what that stadium's like, especially when Philly is doing what they're doing. So yeah, it was a fun environment. Those guys were happy for Davis, and so was I.
Joe, you guys haven't really been killed by tight ends this year, except the game against the Vikings with TJ Hawkinson. what was it that about that game or about him or about the plan that he gave you guys so much trouble?
Yeah, again, he's a really good player in a really talented offense, and you got to, who are you going to take away? You want to take away the receiver, you want to take away the tight end, the running back, the slot, they're all really, really good players. And again, we'll have our hands full with these guys.
Do you have to treat him like a receiver, basically?
There are times when he is like a receiver. If he's out of the core, you want to treat him that way, but there'll be times he's in the core and he plays like a tight end. And it just we just have to be very aware of where he is and their attack based on those positions.
How much does getting McKinney back this game help maybe kind of neutralize that?
Hopefully a lot. Ask me next Monday.
Can you talk about having what Adoree will bring back for you guys if he does play?
If he does play, his energy, his confidence, his ability, to go out there and be on the grass for us is big, But again, the guys who've played in his absence have played really well too. So if we get him back, super excited. But if he's not back, we're going to line up and play and give him our best shot.
I was going to say, can you just talk about what you've been through this year, though? I mean, you have mixed and matched with so many different people this season. How difficult has it been?
The beauty of the way Wink built this system was, in the NFL, we're going to have interchangeable pieces, and you're going to have new guys in. And so making the system very user-friendly so that we could get guys plugged in pretty quickly has been big for me as a secondary coach. That, if it takes me 4 weeks to get a guy up to speed, it's going to be really, really hard because of, the way the roster's built. Having a system that I could get guys in, get them plugged in, teach them the system, and the system be very user-friendly has been massive for me.
How tough an ask is it, back to Adoree for a second, you say, okay, he's coming back. He hasn't played in a long time. Go cover Justin Jefferson one-on-one, some reps.
Yeah. The one thing about Adoree is he won't be fazed by anything. He'll come back if he plays and play at a high level, and it'll give us everything he's got. So I don't worry about it at all. We'll, see if he makes it, and if he makes it, how he plays, how much he plays, and I have confidence that he's going to go out there and play well.
Do you think that for some degree you need an ease-in process because he hasn't played in so long?
There won't be one if he plays. It'll be, here we go, baby, jump right in.
Well, with McKinney, when he came back, I think there was maybe a plan for a pitch count, and he said he felt fine, so you could just kept him out there every rep. Would that be how you think would go with Adoree, or you think if he's ready to play, he's 100% of the snaps? Again,
we'll see if he makes it, and that'll be between the Daves and the training staff to say what his pitch count is, and if he has a pitch count, no pitch count. So right now, I don't have answers on that.
Jerome, going back to what you said about the way Wink built the defense, you've been a DB's coach for a long time, under a lot of DCs. What would you take from Wink, or what would you learn from Wink if you would get the chance sometimes?
Everything.
To be a DC.
Yeah, everything, hopefully. Wink is one of those people that he is unique in that he's a great builder of people. And great motivator of people, and he's also can see skill sets and see how they fit. And then, like a lot of people are playing checkers, and he's playing chess. He's been phenomenal this year, I think, in again, just playing through all the injuries we had and the moving pieces. And every week we've gone out and played competitive football. There are a couple games, obviously we'd love to have back, but I think every week people who play us know this is going to be a tough game.
We're in that part of the season. We're in the playoffs, but we're also in coach carousel season. You want to be a defensive coordinator?
Right now, I want to beat the Minnesota Vikings, and I think I look back to this week last year. This week last year, I was thinking, "Ooh, do I have a job? Where am I going to be?" So to be in the playoffs right now for me is just an absolute blessing. I'm thankful to the organization for the opportunity to be back. Thankful to Dave Ball for the opportunity to be back. Thankful to Wink for the opportunity to work with him. And I just am very glad that this year, what a difference a year makes. In that, again, last year, all of us that were in this building, we were a little bit wondering what was going to happen. And to be here in the playoffs a year later is phenomenal.
How difficult was it working with Nick and Jason last week with what happened with Hamlin and Buffalo and managing that, and then how strong are they kind of playing, coming through that?
All the experience that all the guys in the secondary have gotten is massive for us moving forward into the playoffs and even into next season, because we've had guys who have had to come in that we didn't plan on being starters, and they've come in and they've had to start because of circumstances. And again, every guy who has started for us has gone out and they've played hard, they've played well. Again, we're always have stuff to clean up, stuff we've got to do better. But I think it's a credit to Wink and how he built the system that we can plug pieces in, that it's very user-friendly from a coaching standpoint, that I can take a guy, Nick McLeod, who comes in and can, and credit to Nick, too, for being a study guy, who prepares, who works his butt off, who's very detailed. But the system also helped him come in and play meaningful snaps early for us.
How?
Just because it's built, because in the NFL, we have a limited roster. We're not a college that we have this massive roster. We know guys are going to get injured during the year, and we're going to have new guys. And so it's just built with the forethought of we got to make it where we can integrate new guys quickly into the system. It can't be so hard and so many adjustments and little nuances and little details that we can't get a guy in because he won't know what to do. And then I think Wink also does a great job of understanding what the pieces can do and what they're good at, and then, again, making a plan that fits around them and their skills.
Have you been impressed? Isn't the word I'm looking for, but it's the one I got. Impressed. Kayvon, for a rookie, seems to be so willing to soak in the information provided by Leo, Dex, and Aziz, any of them.
Well, he's done a good job, and to me, I think you're smart when you come into this league as a rookie to try to, gain as much information that you can from the veteran guys. And this game is so much different than what he played in college, and I think you can see, week by week, him adding different elements to his game from learning from those guys and the things that Drew is teaching him too. So I think he's done a real nice job with that.
Okay, you've been a part of playoffs. You've got some players here that haven't been a part, and Leo's one of those guys who's waited a long time. How good do you feel for a guy like that that's been grinding for as long as he has to have a taste?
I'm really happy for him, to finally get an opportunity to feel what it's like to go to the playoffs. And so we talked about it, going into that Indianapolis game, that we wanted to go out as a D-line group and do this for him, give him that opportunity, And then once we won that game, now it's been all about, okay, now it's time to go play. You can feel good for 24 hours, and now you got to go play and give me a big game, So I think he's felt good about it, but I think now that he understands the challenge and it's about preparing and focusing to play well against the Vikings.
Had you guys spoken, that's everybody's goal, obviously, but had you guys together had conversations about, even prior to that Indy game, about playoffs and they go through?
It was never mentioned. It's always been be 1-0, win that game, win this game this week, and then move on to the next one. The playoffs never ever came into any conversation at all until the Indy week, that if we win this game, then we're in.
How did it come up specifically with the guys that you wanted to get him in, so to speak, because he'd waited so long? Or?
Well, I had him talk to the group. Mainly for the younger guys, to get them to understand that this opportunity doesn't come around, all the time. And he stood up and talked to the group about how his rookie year, they were 10 and something, and all they had to do was win the last game and they're in. And when they lost the game, he's thinking, hey, we're a good team. We're going to be there a bunch of times. And he's never been in that position again, And that's really common in this league. As a coach, I started out in New England, and We won the division, went to the playoffs. Then I went to Minnesota. We were 15-1, lost in the championship game. You know, the next year we're 10-6 and lost in the divisional round. So I'm like, okay, this is what the NFL is. This is normal thing, right? And then I go to Dallas and I go to Cleveland and I don't sniff the playoffs again until I'm in Denver, right? So that's the way this deal is. And so you have to cherish the opportunity when you get it. And once you get in the dance, you do everything possible to try to just be 1-0 each week and try to continue to have a chance to advance.
How has he played for you this year? I know he's been going through a lot.
He's played well. No, he's played well. You know, he's played through injury. The times that he has played and been on the field, he's affected the game. And that's what you want from him. So he's played well.
Thanks, Andre.
Excited to be back in the playoffs?
Yeah, no, it feels good to be back. Like I said, you know, you feel good about it for a little bit, and then your focus goes on your opponent and what you have to do to prepare your players to play their best on Sunday. And so that's been my whole focus this week is what I have to do to prepare my guys to play at their best on Sunday.
With the uncertainty of Minnesota's offensive line, I guess how has that impacted your prep or what you? No. Is that kind of
None.
like
We're gonna get
a little good in the back of the head?
No, we're gonna get their best. You know, you gotta always remember it's not fantasy football, right? These are real human beings out there playing, and I know the majority of those guys. I was there for 8 years, right? So all those guys they're putting in there are good players, and if we don't play our best, they'll beat us. So that's just the truth. That's just the truth of the matter. So it's different, you know, other than playing Philadelphia or Dallas or whatever. I was in Minnesota for 8 years. Most of those guys they drafted, I sat in the draft meeting and heard the write-ups on them. I saw them every day in practice, right? So they're good players and they're going to play their best. And if we don't play our best, we won't win.
The left guard rotation. Like, how did you guys kind of land on that? And I mean, it seems like you're probably planning to continue. Like, usually it feels like coaches want to stick with the same 5 guys.
Basically, it came down to a point where multiple guys had earned the right to play, and the only way to do that was rotate. And they've all still continued to earn the right to play. We evaluate it every day. I look at it every day, and then we decide after each day, and then as we get to game time, if that's still the case, then we just keep rotating.
Was there ever a time though where you said I'd like to see one guy pull ahead, or is it a good problem to have, or you know what I mean?
Because some people have an issue with it. I personally don't. They've handled it really well. They've handled it like pros. The 2 guys in particular that are doing it, I think they have great respect for one another, and they work really hard on and off the field. So I think right now, I think the biggest thing is everybody wants to win, and everybody knows that we're in the playoffs now, where it's a win or go home. And I think they want to do whatever it takes to win. They just want to keep playing.
Pretty much everybody in this organization who was with the Bills or the Chiefs last year. How do you describe the last playoff game you were a part of? And does being on the losing side of that, probably the best game of the century, still stick with you more than maybe other?
Yeah, it stinks. Yeah, it stinks. I mean, you know, imagine having a really, really, really high and then hitting rock bottom. And for me, the hardest part was looking at those kids' eyes. You know, I had a group of guys that played their rear ends off and basically thought, we're going to the next round, we're advancing, and there's 13 seconds left on the clock, and that's the last time they touch the field. That's a hard pill to swallow. So, but you learn and grow from it. You know, it taught me that, hey, no matter what's going on, keep talking on the sidelines, keep coaching, keep preparing for a situation that could come up, and that's all you can do. Control what you can control. My dad said that a long time ago, and I didn't understand it. Every day that goes by, he gets smarter and smarter because all this stuff he used to say to me makes more and more sense. So, yeah, it was a tough feeling, but you just got to grow from it.
I appreciate that. That's a good answer.
No problem.
With Evan, some of the rough patches he's had recently, is there a consistent thing you're seeing show up that you're really honing in on? Is it different things?
Really, it's just Evan being a rookie. It's growing pains, but he makes progress every day. And every day, you know, Tony and myself, we do everything we can to help the kid work through it and grow from whatever happens, positive or negative. If it's a positive, we use it as teaching moment. If it's negative, we use it as, you know, constructive criticism to help him, you know, work through it. And to his credit, he's taken the coaching and he listens, and the one thing about him is he tries to do everything we ask him to do, and that's a positive.
What was the thought process behind giving him a half last game? Obviously, you set most of your starters, and you took him out in the second half. What was just more reps? Or?
Yeah, he's a young guy. Got to continue to learn. I learned that one when I was in Indy with Googe, and we played the 2 rookie draft picks all throughout the preseason, Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith. They need to get reps. If you're going to count on them, you got to get them reps. They got to learn. Every rep, every play is a learning opportunity for that kid. So that was the thought process.
What makes Hunter so tough? I mean, obviously was a big factor in that first matchup. What does he present?
He's a good player. Speed, length. Every team. The good thing about the NFL is there's good rushers on almost every team, and so it's not like it's just shock to your system. Every guy's a little bit different, but you see good guys every week, and tackles got to learn from that. And hopefully, at this point in the season, they've seen just about everything they can see, and it gives them the tools to give them a chance to have success.
Somebody asked about Wyatt Davis. I'm sorry for somebody else.
No, they did not ask about Wyatt Davis.
This was a kid that
Yep.
was a five-star recruit,
Yep.
All-American,
Yep.
whatever has to happen in his career.
Yeah.
What are you seeing from him so far?
Oh, I'll tell you what, Wyatt's a hard worker. He's an intelligent kid. We look for 3 things: tough, smart, dependable. Well, he's smart. He's come in, he's learned stuff. I think he's tough. I watch him go on the practice squad and go against our guys. Then he'll come over and do reps for us. And so far, he's been the same guy every day, which to me is dependability. He's been available. He's been on the practice field. So I think that's promise out of a young guy. And sometimes I do believe this, and I may not be in the majority in this one. I do believe sometimes with young players, regardless of position, sometimes they might not have success in the first place. Maybe not even the second place. But I've seen guys have really good careers, maybe that second, third, fourth place, because they learned from each stop. Maybe it wasn't the right fit. I think you can look throughout this team and see a bunch of guys that have been a bunch of other places, but for some reason, this place is the right fit. Hopefully he's one of those guys,
I'm sorry to ask you about this guy that you did already, Evan.
Yeah.
What do you try to do when he's had some rough games this year? When he has rough games, what do you try to do to keep his confidence high?
Try to coach him the same way when he has a good game. Nothing's worse for a young player. All of a sudden he has a rough game and you act completely different. All of a sudden you coach him totally different. That kid's going, oh no, whoa. We're talking about consistency here. And now all of a sudden you're not being consistent. I coach him the same way when he has a good game. I coach off the good plays, I coach off the bad plays. The good plays are good reminders and reinforcers of what we're looking for. The bad plays are good tools for constructive criticism. And I do that the same way: win, lose, and tie. The same thing. Exact same thing. And for him, I think that's helped him, because I've seen guys go in a spiral when they have a tough patch, because all of a sudden the environment's around them different. You're teaching them differently. You're coaching them differently. All of a sudden you get them out of the routine. Hey, we need to do this extra. Now we do focus on some things, but we try to hammer home the fundamentals that we've been doing since day one.
What will you send him home with after the season is over, in terms of, hey, here's how you can get better?
Well, first I'm going to send him home with all the Christmas decorations he had to put in our room. I don't want them in there anymore. They're cluttering the place up. Just general improvement. I mean, some of those things are just be between us and Evan. You know what I mean? And I think that's just for his benefit. But I think he has a desire to improve overall. I think there's just some things he needs to do. He needs to come up. He needs to continue to grow and find his own process. Every one of these guys out here have their own process. I think he just needs to find his own process that helps him be the most efficient pro he can be day in, day out.
I'll just ask you this last one. Have you, as an offensive line coach, often seen a big jump from year one to year two? And what do you think is the reason for that?
I think it's familiarity. For a rookie, every day something new pops up. Every day is a new day. There's, oh, whoa, that's different. I've never experienced that before. All of a sudden, year two, there's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I did that before. Nah, that's not a big deal. I've been through it. It's like the first job. All of us have had a new job before. There's stuff that happens like, whoa, isn't it? The next year, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Same thing for me as a coach. First year as O-line coach, oh god. Second, third, fourth year, used to it. So hopefully that's what happens for him too.
Has Ben/Bob kicked off all the rust after the knee injury?
Yeah, Bob is rolling. You know, I mean, that's the thing about Bob. He's like death and taxes. He is consistent. You know, I mean, he's doing a good job. I love Bob. Bob's smart. He brings a lot of good stuff to the room.
What have you liked about the rotation?
Well, they've earned the right to play. You know, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. As long as they keep on it.
What the process is like when you guys have to dial up all your pressure packages for a rematch, especially a team you've done a few times. You played not too long ago.
Yeah, I think that's something Wink really has a great feel for, whether it's a division team or a team we played twice. He always wants to show one look and then show the counterpunch off that look the next week. So it may be, hey, it's great that we ran these pressures that worked last time. Here's the things that would also give them problems that they may not be expecting, and that's what he really keeps moving week to week, team to team, and that's why he's the best at what he does.
Do you think you run like majority, let's say more than 50% different pressures that you didn't run the last?
I think each week's different, and a big variable of that is who's available for us and what guys are playing and what roles they're playing, and I think that's just each week the beauty of this thing with Wink is we're not confined to, okay, here's what we did last time. We can reinvent this thing every week as we go with the same basic principles that we've been working on since OTAs and training camps. That's been great.
I know you're probably going to blitz no matter what, but how do you feel about your front four? Do you think that those guys can have enough advantage to maybe you can scale back a little bit if you need to?
There's incredible talent there. There's incredible talent with our blitzers. I think there's a lot of great options, and I think as we move towards being more full strength as a team, you feel great about every one-on-one matchup you get, every free runner you get, and you understand that having both those things available to you at your disposal, that's just more weapons for Wink to use.
Seeing how when you guys blitzed at the end of the last game, they hit you with the wide receiver screen and they got into position, and then Wink says, as long as you have the NY on your helmet, we're still going to blitz. What does that say about, maybe some coaches would be like, oh, you know what, maybe we got to scale it back a little bit?
Right. I think, from the day we all got here and put together what we were all hoping to build on defense, it was an attack mindset. It was that aggressive mentality. We're going to dictate to the offense, not the other way around. And that's something that every player in the meeting room, every guy getting off the bus knows that's who we are. We're the New York Giants. We're going to go hit you in the mouth. All right, so that's from day one up until now, and it's been good to us. We're going to keep with that approach.
Wink told us yesterday that, on the flight back from Minnesota, he went and sought out on the plane Dex and Leo. I'm sure you guys talked about it too. Kind of reinforcing his belief in his defense, that this was a playoff defense, that you guys were building something. You've been with Wink a while. Take me inside the thought process in that situation. Why do you think it was important for those guys to hear those words, that message?
Yeah, I think this offense we're going against is a very talented offense, very well put together offense. And to see us go toe-to-toe with them last game was really encouraging for him, for all of us involved, that we can play with a team like this, and it's going to be a battle. And every play is going to be its own challenge. And you just see these guys getting better each week, preparing harder each week. And then you saw, as we build this thing down the stretch, you look at the Washington game, the Indy game, that game, it's just our guys are playing with a great deal of confidence, and they're really executing at a high level. And that's, as you see his defenses, they build towards the end of the year and they really take off. Those November, December crucial games set you up for these January showdowns.
Is it purposeful to ask, or at least to let the guys know? He clearly went to Leo and Dex and delivered that message. For those guys to kind of embrace it, does that kind of send a trickle-down effect to what you guys are trying to get across?
For sure, and for all of Wink's talents, the biggest one might be inspiring that confidence and inspiring and keeping it real. Like, if he didn't feel that way, he wouldn't say it. He understands that we have a great deal of talent and potential, and as we're coming together, like Wink said, the brotherhood of this defense is real and this team is real, and it's just, he's always going to let those guys know where we're at. And he saw that thing building in the right direction and really encouraged those guys and built confidence in those guys.
What has been Lawrence Cage?
What about him?
What was it that he did? He had a good game numbers wise.
Yeah.
What did you see from him? What impressed you, if anything?
To me, as long as he's been here, all he's done is worked and waited for an opportunity. And last time he really played was Dallas. We pivoted a little bit. We're always going to play to the strengths of of really the defense, how we can affect the defense. And last week, he just took advantage of a moment, you know. So I was happy for him to have a focus on him and to take advantage of it, you know. But he's been a consistent guy through and through.
You know, because he's fairly new at the position.
Yeah.
Is there anything that sticks out to you that, like, what has made him better as he's moved along here and gotten more familiar really with the position?
Yeah, I mean, I really think time, and I think he's been a good student. I mean, he wants to do it the way we're asking. So he's taking notes. He's in early. He stays late. He asks good questions. You know, he's 241 pounds. He looks like he's 225 and a gazelle out there, but he's trying. He's trying to be a real tight end, and I think you're seeing, you know, episodes of that as we've gone along. So that's positive.
Andy, I know you don't make the model, but when I watch a guy out there that looks like he's open every time he's running around, I'm saying to myself, why is this guy playing? So, like, what is the well-rounded nature of the tight end position that he's working on to make himself indispensable?
Yeah, I mean, I just think you have to be a guy who can protect, run block, and catch the ball. I mean, you got to be a guy who can play the whole position. You know, that the league is too strong to put a guy out there that's only, you know, playing with his left hand behind his back. You know what I mean? And so there's too many good coaches, schemes, people, players. And so what Lawrence has been able to do is to come along and to meet those roles as he's moved along through the process. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a certain comfort and familiarity.
Seems like a good kid.
He really is. Yeah, he's a Calvert Hall kid down in Baltimore, private school. Played for Coach Don Davis. I mean, when I was with the Ravens, I knew of him. I heard of him.
Oh.
And so I had a little bit of history with just following his journey. And it's funny how that all works out. I mean, the way you go on your journeys, he's just like 3-star, 4-star, whatever he was, star recruit, goes to Miami, goes to Georgia, but he was a Baltimore kid. And then he lands on our doorstep here, and it's a blessing for us.
Yeah, some guys like that, I mean, you said it. I mean, you look at him on the field, you think, like, he looks like a starting power forward in the NBA.
He does.
I mean, he's a monster. But it's like he's used to succeeding, so if it doesn't work out on his first team, maybe it's an unfamiliar process to kind of dig down and say, okay, how do I have to get better?
That's right. And that's all he's done. And, I mean, this type of guy, you know, whether it's, you know, a Darren Waller or whomever that is, I mean, these types of guys are out there that are a little bit of an untraditional guy, but if you can master enough of the position to draw a tie in some areas, it can really help your team. And he's just on a journey, and he's taken an upswing that's been nice.
As a coach, is this a fun one to be a part of? Because first of all, you guys are winning going to the playoffs, but also there's a developmental angle to what you're doing in every position. Right?
Yeah.
So like you can take a long-term approach of, like you said, a guy's trajectory past this year, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at the bottom line is every team, including us, is trying to win that week, you know, and that's real. But if you have the luxury of being able to win and bring people along, that certainly has an element of there's some satisfaction, you know, and the same applies to Bellinger. I mean, here's a guy who has really had a strong year, and it all started in April. And you know, just get a little better every day and move yourself along. So it's been great with the whole room. They've been great that way.
Daniel just puts his head down and works.
He does, and you know what? None of us are perfect, me included, but he's trying to do it the right way. He's grown immensely, and he's a reliable guy out there that, number one, the quarterback trusts. Number two, the head coach and the coordinator. I mean, those things, we always talk about that in our room. It's our job in our room to earn the trust of the quarterback, the play caller, and the head coach. And if we can do that, you're going to get plays. If you can't do that, you're not going to be out there as much as you'd like to be. So Daniel's done a good job of that.
Thank you.